A few months ago, I made a video about the Taylor Swift Ticketmaster debacle, and a lot has happened since then.
You can't have too much consolidation, something that unfortunately for this country, as a ode to Taylor Swift, I will say, we know all too well.
But now that the dust has mostly settled, the conversation around Taylor Swift's ERAS tour has shifted from getting tickets to the show to the actual show itself. I mean, it's her first tour in like 6 years, the Setlist is a culmination of her career rather than a standard tour that focuses on one album, and to put it gently, Swifties are kinda weird. Now if you remember, I bought tickets to this back in November. I live in New York, so my closest stadium date would theoretically have been MetLife, however, 1, fuck MetLife, and 2, I decided it would be fun to meet up with my best friend who lives on the West Coast and make a long weekend trip out of the whole thing. That landed us in Arizona, a place that neither of us have ever been. And I don't think this really sunk in for us until we got there, but we actually had tickets for the very first night of the ERAS tour. We didn't necessarily plan this to be an aspect of our concert-going experience, we really just wanted to see each other, see Taylor, and see Paramore, and this ended up being the most, productive way to hit all of that criteria. And judging by the live streams of over 100,000 viewers and the firestorm on social media, being at the first night of the show was kind of a big event, more so than we even realized. So this video is going to be a mix of my experience at the first night of the tour, my general thoughts on the show, and things you should know if this is your first time at a Taylor Swift concert, or if you're traveling kind of far to see her, which can be a little nerve-wracking or daunting to prepare for. And I guess I'll do a spoiler warning because we're going to be talking about the set list, so I normally wouldn't bother, but considering I got yelled at for explaining the plot of Bad Cinderella a few weeks ago, I'm erring on the side of caution here. Okay, so we got to Arizona on Thursday night. We checked in at our hotel in Peoria, which is about a 15 to 20 minute drive to State Farm Stadium in Glendale without traffic. We did have the option of staying in Phoenix, which is a little farther away, but as we'll get into later, being as close to the venue as possible really came in handy. It is going to be really interesting because as I'm sure I've said at some point in this video before this point, that this is the first night, so we don't know what the set list is, we don't really know what to expect, and we're just really excited. We're waiting in anticipation. Share some facts about yourself, because you're gonna be a character in this vlog.
My name is Noelle, that's a fact.
That is a fact.
I was Kayla's college roommate for almost 4 years.
Disgusting.
We lived together. I also work in media like Kayla, and we're basically each other's tethers. Like if you've ever seen Us,
Yeah.
that is basically me and Kayla.
We're the same person. She's also my wife, fun fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the West Coast equivalent of Kayla.
Yeah. We got some dinner at Cheesecake Factory, and then the next morning, shit started getting real, my friends. Of course, the concert wasn't until like 6:30, so we killed some time by driving to Phoenix. We got some tacos, and we visited this pretty botanical garden and saw a lot of cacti. Well, what do you think Taylor Swift would think of these cacti?
I think she'd be inspired by them.
They're beautiful.
She'd have like an acid-inspired album.
Ooh. Do some peyote and shit. We also got to free some baby butterflies into a butterfly garden, and I cried a little bit. This is not the first time I'm going to cry on this trip. We also saw these Call Rafi billboards literally everywhere. Who is Rafi, and why do we have to call them? I will investigate this later, don't you worry. Oh my god, there he is.
There he is, Rafi.
There he is. Mr. Raff. What is your deal? What do you do? So after all of that, we headed back to the hotel to get ready for the concert. We'll show you what we wore in a second, but in general, I would definitely recommend comfortable shoes. Chances are you're going to have a pretty long walk into the venue depending on what the parking situation is at your show, and as we'll get into later, you'll likely be standing for a very long time, even if you do have seats. Okay, this is what I'm wearing. It's ridiculous, but it kind of has to be. This is what Noelle's wearing.
We get a little commotion for the dress now.
Iconic. So we're about to leave, and we'll see how easy or difficult it is to get into the venue. Getting to State Farm honestly was not that bad. I expected a lot worse considering what we had heard from people around town and the constant reminders that officials were putting out on the boards and stuff about traffic warnings and the importance of leaving early. The gates to the stadium parking lot opened at noon, so I'm sure people went in to like tailgate and just to be extra safe. Not us though. We left our hotel at around 5:15 and we got to the venue by like 5:45. Two things that sped up our process for actually getting into State Farm: paying for parking ahead of time. I did this on the SeatGeek app and it was around $25. And the second thing, I would recommend not bringing bags if you can avoid it because it made going through security a lot faster and smoother. If you have to bring a bag, bring something clear and small just to be safe. Not sure if this is the policy for all of the venues, but it was for ours. I saw a lot of clear fanny packs and those seemed pretty cute and functional, so if you have to bring a bag, I would opt for that. When we got there were huge lines for merch. I didn't buy any merch myself, but I can tell you that the lines were long pretty much everywhere we went in the stadium. And as far as when to buy it, I think it would depend on how excited you are for your opening acts. The concert did start right at 6:30 for us, so if you're thinking you'll have a lull in time before the action gets started, you definitely won't. These people are on a strict schedule, like more so than any other show I've ever been to. So I missed Gail's entire set because I had to take a piss and because I was online to buy some popcorn, and by the time I got back to my seat, I had like 5 minutes of downtime before Paramore took the stage at around 7. Speaking of seats, this was our view. If you remember my first video on the ticket buying process, I originally was only able to get seats that were way up high and behind the stage. However, I saved up for a few months and shelled out a stupid amount of money to sit in this section here. Before you give me shit, I did not want to buy from a reseller. However, this is the economy that has been created due to a lack of regulation from the feds, so take it up with them, not me. If you are trying to level up your tickets before you go, obviously just keep checking StubHub. I bought my new tickets back in January just to be safe, so I didn't see as much of a price drop as I would have if I waited till closer to the show. So if your show is in your home city and you aren't traveling, I don't see an issue with waiting until a few days before. I saw quite a few people on TikTok get great seats for below face value because they waited the day of. Obviously it's a risk, I'm not a financial advisor, but this is a bad system and solidarity is the only way through. Don't shame the people for what they got, that's weird behavior. Just be mad at Ticketmaster and we'll be good. So Paramore took the stage at 7, they played all of the hits. I've seen them multiple times live, but this is the first time I ever got to see them do Decode, which was pretty sweet to see in person. If you're hoping for any interaction between your opener and Taylor, I'd bet my life that it's not happening, and we'll get into the structure of the concert in a little bit and why it doesn't really allow for that type of thing. Paramore wrapped up their set by like 7:30, 7:45, and Taylor took the stage promptly around 8 o'clock. Like I said, the whole sequence of acts was very efficient. I'm used to shows where start times are more of a suggestion than anything else, but when she started doing her thing, I very quickly started to understand why things were so scheduled down to the minute. This show is a fucking behemoth of a thing. Once she took the stage at 8, it was go, go, go. She opened with a few songs from Lover and then took a short pause to kind of explain to the audience what was going on. ERAS is a tour that quite literally is performed in blocks of her eras, correlated to her albums. Not every era is equal in representation, they are not in chronological order, and Noelle and I will get into some specifics in a little bit here, but they are definitely some positives and negatives to that approach. Each era had a costume change and a corresponding visual color palette and set element. This may as well have been a full-on Broadway production. You can tell a ton of work went into every detailed aspect of it, and of course, as a fan, I was entertained. Another really cute detail I liked was these little wristbands that were given out. Basically, they acted as sort of a secondary lighting effect for each of the numbers. They would go off at certain times and appear to be synchronized. It was really cool. Everyone was on their feet the entire time, so if you want to see, you'll likely have to stand the whole time as well. She does utilize pretty much every part of the stage at some point during the show, and there are projections on the front, back, and side of the stage to help provide a better view. Before we talk about the actual setlist choices and the vibe of the show itself, let's finish talking about the actual rest of the physical concert experience. The show is long, it's 3 hours, so I would recommend getting water and a snack from the stadium concessions, and while getting into the venue wasn't exactly challenging, getting out was a whole different animal. First of all, this is a public service announcement. She does not do an encore. There is no encore, she does not come back on stage, she ends the show with karma, and there's a bow and confetti, and it's done. I say this because the most infuriating moment of the night happened after the show, when everyone was filing up the stairs toward the exit out. As that was happening, people in the pit started screaming for no reason, probably, adrenaline overload or whatever, which caused everyone ahead of us to stop what they were doing, turn around, and look aimlessly at the stage while a million people are stuck on the stairs behind them, unable to move. If the house lights are on, there is no more show. These bug-eyed fucking troglodytes literally refused to move, and it was unlocking a primal and unhinged rage in me just sitting there watching this lunacy unfold. I'll give everyone a pass because it was the first night, but there is no encore. Do not do this. All you're doing is stopping the flow of foot traffic and quite frankly inhibiting the ability for everyone to get out safely, so again, do not do this. If you're claustrophobic or if you have sensory issues, I would honestly suggest leaving early or leaving really late after all of the crowds have moved out. My show had like 70,000 people. It was literally more packed than the Super Bowl, and at a lot of stadiums there are only so many ways for you to get out, so the crowd crush is real. I definitely encourage the buddy system and having a plan in the event that you get separated. We decided to park toward the back of our designated parking section, which means we actually had a long walk from the venue to the car, but it worked out slightly in our favor because the further back you are, the closer you are to the road. We drove a rental car, as you can guess, and although it was annoying, this was probably the best option if your venue doesn't have any public transport. We did see folks walking, but I'm unsure of, where they were coming from, and for shits and gigs, Noelle looked up a Lyft price from the venue to the hotel that we were staying at, and a 1-minute wait for a 20-minute ride was going for about $100. The biggest downside, though...
Hello. It is post-concert. We are in the parking lot.
Yeah, we are. We're gonna die here.
We already know that's gonna happen. I think we both agree, excellent show.
Good shit.
We're just so tired right now.
You can't flip the camera. I was gonna say, if you flip the camera, you can see, this has just been our reality for like a half hour.
Yeah. And then, yeah, there's that too.
I'm definitely going to provide suggestions in this video, but I can't suggest anything to get around this. We probably did the smartest thing because we have a car. If you're getting a lift, you're fucked. If you're walking, good, best of luck to you. And if you're us, you're sitting in the parking lot waiting for the cars. And the fucking road is right there. I can see it. I can see the cars moving on the road. We're just stuck in this one spot.
Where we will die.
And when we die,
Who gets the channel?
You or Brian, you can split it. While it was a little frustrating to sit in this line of cars for that long, I almost fought a lady in a Range Rover. It could have been way worse, and we did make it back to the hotel at around 12:30 a.m. Now let's flash forward to the next day, and we'll give you some of our takes on the actual show and the set list. Hello, friends. It is the next day. We're in Sedona. I keep forgetting that I can't fucking flip this camera, so I'm gonna go like this. So that's what we're doing.
The pioneers used to ride these babies for miles.
Okay, so tell me what your overall thoughts were now that we've had a minute to decompress about the set list choice.
Yeah, I think my overall take is that I really enjoyed the set list. I think she did a great job of picking kind of her best cuts from each era. I think she did a great job too. Like, you can tell that she spent a lot of time online listening to what people wanted, what her fans wanted, and she absolutely incorporated that into the show. I will say my biggest kind of critique of this tour and of the set list is that each kind of era felt disconnected from each other, at least in the order and the sequencing of the show, and it kind of felt, as an audience member, a little disjointed from time to time. You did a lot of hopping around between eras. It's not chronological at all, so it could be a little jarring at times to go from, at the beginning of the show where you have Lover, and I think even a song from there was a song from Fearless that she played, and then you hop from Evermore, and then you hop to 1989, and then you hop there's a couple songs from her early career, the self-titled album that she played, at least for our show. And I would just wish that maybe she had spend some more time setting up the narrative or like talking to audience members between those different sections to kind of explain like, okay, we're turning to this part of my career, my music, here's why, like, let me explain it to you or whatever. Because I just think at times, like, it was jarring as an audience member to hop from so many different eras and so many different songs that sometimes really complemented each other and sometimes it felt very random and scattered.
Damn, I just, after that last clip that I just played, I told Noelle, I was like, she's really good at this. She talks for a job.
I also talk for a job.
She does the
sometimes.
Radio, folks. We're playing with the heavy hitters here. I will also say that well, first of all, one thing that I noticed, no Speak Now. She paid Speak Now
no attention.
Dust. She gave it
She
dust.
said Speak Never.
She did Enchanted in a quince dress and said bye.
Really brave of Taylor Swift to have a quince before I had a quince. But you know what?
You know what?
It's okay.
It's okay. And the other thing is that there's no room for spontaneity in this tour because of how like rehearsed down it is. Like you're never gonna get any kind of, interaction with anybody who's opening for her. You're not gonna get, she's not gonna likely, assuming that everything kind of goes the way that it's going now. I don't think you're gonna see any kind of like switching up the set list. There's literally like a scheduled moment toward the end of the show where she picks like an acoustic song that like no one else is ever gonna hear on the tour, and she'll probably pick out a random cut from the self-titled album. So we got Mirror Ball and Tim McGraw.
Which is cool. This was my first Taylor Swift concert experience. Kayla is also yours too.
Yes.
So I never saw the Yee phase of
The
Taylor
Yee,
live.
not the Yee.
So it was cool to hear her perform that song, and also for the first night of the tour too, for the ERAS tour.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we got Mirror Ball, which was cool. I just think that we kind of had the unique experience because we were the first show that we didn't know what was coming next. But if you're a fan and you're going into this prepared, you're not going to get any kind of spontaneous moments. I don't think I would be bold enough to say.
Your spontaneity is going to come from the openers with this tour, I think.
Yeah,
because we got that with Paramore for sure.
I love Paramore, bro.
I love Hayley Williams.
I'm gonna insert a clip here of Noelle crying during Decode.
Yeah.
I think the balance of album representation could have been a little better. Here's what the final set list was for our show. Like I said, she only did one song from Speak Now. I would have loved to hear Back to December or Better Than Revenge or something. I think her recent albums got a lot of the love, which makes sense because she hasn't ever performed them on tour before. By far the craziest moments were Love Story, just the end where everyone sings the last verse went unbelievably hard. And this is controversial, but she did play the 10-minute version of All Too Well. I did cry and it was embarrassing. I know people are a little heated by it being in this set because obviously that time theoretically could have been dedicated to other songs, I guess, but I get it. That was a very defining cultural moment at the time. If you're really that mad about it, I would use that time to go buy merch. There is no right way to enjoy a concert. I'm a pretty casual Swiftie, so I was just there for the hits. If you're going for niche deep cuts, that is definitely not what this show is, and I think that's okay. The last thing I want to say is that I'm a little concerned for how sustainable of a production this is. 3 hours, 44 songs, that's crazy. That's reaching Springsteen territory, and even he usually just performs, on stage with a band. This is full costume changes and choreography, and I'm a little worried that she's going to possibly injure herself or her voice, but if she's really committed to taking this thing all across the country in its current iteration, more power to her. I just hope she, is able to take care of herself. Also, people are really excited to be here. For a lot of them, they probably spent multiple paychecks to be here. Don't be a fucking asshole and film people for getting excited. There's this viral video going around right now of a Lady Gaga fan doing choreography when her song was played in between acts, and like, people are just there to have fun. You do not get the gold star for being like the calm, collected, above all this fan. Taylor will not like you more for that uppity pick-me behavior, and if no one around you is hurting or bothering anyone, leave them be, please. Overall, I had a wonderful experience in Arizona. We had a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to be part of such a unique, once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I hope this video was helpful in getting you prepared for your Taylor Swift Eras Tour date. One more piece of advice: if you are going to MetLife, you are fucked. The entire state of New Jersey is going to be in permanent gridlock for like 48 hours. Please plan accordingly in solidarity to my New York brothers, sisters, and non-binary siblings. Before I go, though, I have one piece of unfinished business to tend to.
Rafi Locker, this is Samantha. How can I help you?
Hey, is this Rafi?
Yes.
This is Rafi?
Yes, this is Rafi Locker.
Okay, I just saw the billboards, and I just... I just looked at you and started laughing. Fuck.
Hang up?
Yeah, I hung up. I couldn't do it.
You're the worst. You're actually the worst fucking prank caller.
I looked at you and I cracked. It was your fault.
Oh, okay. You want me to go out and do
No, that's it.